Our guest today is currently the Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. She is running to become the next United States Senator from the land of Lincoln. Please give it up for Juliana Stratton.
Thank you for having me.
We are so glad you're here. We have so many pressing questions. But before we get to ICE enforcement, if I wanted to get a hot dog, where would be the best place for a true Chicago dog?
Wiener Circle is always the way. But the key is no ketchup, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay, and
Extra
Wiener
sport
Circle is
peppers.
not the Supreme Court. Okay.
but yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay.
I also want to ask, where do you think is the best place for Chicago pizza? And I understand you're running a campaign, so I understand if you might not want to answer that question. I still had to ask.
Well, I heard Pequod's, but I mean, there's a lot of great pizza.
I just
in
want. I think
Chicago.
you should stop.
Yeah, because when you start to take sides,
Yes.
there's lots of great pizza in Chicago.
A politic answer.
That's right. That's right.
All right, I will just say, I kind of want to Lou Malnati's. They decided we're doing Giordano's. Anyway, I'm not running for anything, so I can take a side. But I'm also going to try to focus us. Sorry, ladies. No, but we obviously do have serious things we wanted to talk to you about. So over the last 9 months, we all know the president has been increasingly aggressive in the assertion of federal government power. And obviously, we don't need to tell you, it seems that assertion has now reached Chicago. And actually, we wanted to start by playing some excerpts from recent speeches from the president and Secretary Hegseth, and then ask for some of your reactions to those.
Our history is filled with military heroes who took on all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that phrase very well. That's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic.
We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living.
Okay. Very, very normal. Yeah. So, by themselves, these are incredibly chilling statements, and they are even more alarming when you take them together. And just this morning, and we are recording on Saturday, Governor Pritzker shared that the Department of War, it never not sounds stupid, the Department of War gave him an ultimatum to call up the National Guard or they would do it for him, and they would send military troops into Illinois against the will of the state, its people, and its governor.
And we said, hell no.
Okay.
I mean, think about this. I mean, you just heard that, the enemy within. This is about a president, a wannabe dictator who sees American people, fellow Americans, as the enemy, and wants to normalize the presence of military troops on American soil. And we made it clear. Now, he, of course, then gave the order to federalize troops to come to a city like Chicago. But we have made it very clear. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. And we have, by the way, a governor. He happens to be the best governor in the United States, by the way. And the governor is the commander-in-chief of in our state. So we don't need a president telling us what we need to do. So this is an effort to cause real chaos, to stoke fear, and that's exactly what's happening. Pitting us against one another, and we have made it very clear in Illinois what we are standing for, and we're going to keep fighting to protect our people. You better believe that.
LFG. Let's go.
I was going to say, as the great Shea Coulee said, this is how we do it in Chicago.
That's exactly right.
Could we actually get you to say some more about kind of how state and local governments can serve as sites of resistance to federal encroachment? So we totally agree that the governor has really been incredible and a standout, as I think there's been a lot of flailing because so much of what we're seeing from the federal government is so unprecedented. So how can states and localities become effective sites of resistance?
I think one of the things that, in addition to speaking out, in addition to saying, let's coordinate getting all of our leaders together and convening to say, here's where we are, these are our values, and we're going to stand strong. And by the way, people do want to see that from their leaders. They want to see leaders fighting back and not just going along to get along. So that is one thing, but I think the other thing that's been really important here in Illinois is we knew what would come about with the second Trump presidency. So we were proactive. We made sure that we enshrined the right to an abortion in state law. We made sure, we made sure that we protected LGBTQ plus rights. We knew what was being threatened. And so we were proactive, and in many ways, being proactive is the way that we can resist. By not waiting for something to happen and then say, how do we react? Yes. But to say, you know what, we understand who he is. He is not a normal president, and he is not a normal person. And so for us, we had to take action. And I think that's what the people of Illinois deserve, leaders who take action.
That is what we all deserve.
Everyone deserves.
Yes.
But Illinois, right here.
Amen. All right, you are in the Illinois state government now, but you are running to be a member of Congress, the Senate specifically. And at this moment, you are running on behalf of a party that's in the minority in the federal legislature. What should an opposition party be doing now to resist this president? Like, what are we missing here?
Well, look, I sometimes wonder why it's so quiet in certain circles and spaces, even within the party. What I can tell you is that when I'm traveling the state, and I'm doing a lot of that these days, more than any policy issue, what people are saying more than anything else is I am looking for someone to go to the mat fighting for me. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm looking at. And I can tell you, we get a good example of what that should look like by just tapping into the energy that people are bringing. People who head to the streets and say, no kings. People who say, hands off my health care, hands off my Medicaid. They are showing us the kind of energy that they want. And I think that what we have to do is we have to match that energy. We have to meet the moment with the energy that people are expecting. But I think the other thing is we're seeing it right now, for example, with the budget. We are seeing Democrats say we're not going to compromise and give up health care for Americans, and that's important. But that energy has to be sustained. The people, Americans don't want to see Democrats, confirming judges that have no business sitting on the bench. They don't want to see Democrats confirming appointees to lead agencies that have no experience and have no business sitting on the bench. So we have to sustain this energy. It's not just for right now. And the reason why I'm running is, yes, because I want to make sure that we pass good legislation. Yes, I want to make sure I use my bully pulpit and speak with moral clarity. But it's to push our party to be courageous in this moment. That's what we need. That's the energy people are looking for.
So I want to pulverize that and snort it. That's amazing. Yes.
That is a great transition. Juliana, you are running for a seat that is open because Senator Dick Durbin is retiring. And among other things, Senator Durbin chaired the Senate Judiciary Committee when Democrats had a majority in the Senate. And if you are elected to the Senate, you will play a role in shaping the federal courts. So in that spirit, can we get your takes on the following questions? 1, how would you rate the Supreme Court? Awesome, okay, bad, or 911, there's an emergency.
There's an emergency. There's an emergency. We have a Supreme Court right now that is rubber stamping this president's authoritarian agenda. And quite frankly, it is dangerous. We're supposed to have checks and balances, right? But there are no checks from this Supreme Court. So it is dangerous.
They're getting checks from their emotional
they're
support
getting,
billionaires.
yeah,
but
they're getting checks.
Not handing
but they are
them
not
out.
checking the
Yeah.
president.
Yeah.
The other branches. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so second question. If a nominee to the federal courts said, allegedly, that one could, instead of responding to and complying with court orders, just simply tell the courts, quote, fuck you, would you vote to confirm them to a lifetime appointment on the federal courts?
I'm not someone who cusses a lot.
I'm sorry, what?
But I would say it would be something close to him. But what I would say is no. I mean, no, should not be, does not have the experience, does not believe in the rule of law, and should not sit on the bench at all. Absolutely not.
So taking you back to kind of the state official sort of question for now, we were just, I don't know if you were here yet, but we were talking about a decision that came down regarding the invalidity, at least as a district court found it, of a decision to send the National Guard to Oregon. I guess I want to ask about, from your vantage in state government, kind of the role of litigation in this moment. So obviously using the bully pulpit, critically important. I think state and local officials both rallying the public and communicating about our constitutional values is hugely important. And as we've just been talking about, the Supreme Court has been blessing a lot of what the administration is doing. But the courts are not just the Supreme Court. The lower federal courts are doing a great deal. So I guess, is that a place that people should, not exclusively, but among other things, sort of look to as one potential check on the federal government? I guess there is litigation or will be litigation already filed against the federal government just by Illinois, right? Is that pending now, or it will be?
And we are doing that. We have a fantastic, not just a fantastic governor, but we have a fantastic attorney general in Kwame Raoul.
Yes.
And, we are, filing cases, we're going to court, and you don't see all of those cases on the front page. I mean, it's not always making the headline news, but we are doing that, and we are winning. And I think that's the piece that I want to make sure people understand, that the resistance is important because we are winning. We are getting to places. And this is a very weak man in Donald Trump. And we understand that. And so when you push back, we see him start to change course. It doesn't mean that things aren't still happening. I mean, he came back today and said, well, now let's send troops to Chicago. We're going to see that happen. But when we resist, when we fight back, when we stand together, when we go to court and file these lawsuits, yes, it's important. Of course, if they get appealed, and the cases that get appealed to the Supreme Court, who knows what we will see happen. But every single step, we must fight back. We cannot normalize what is happening. We cannot just sit back on the sidelines. We have to be ready to go to bat every single moment, and that's what we're doing in Illinois. That's the kind of leadership I'm going to bring to the United States Senate, by the way.
So because you are so involved in a state, that is really on the front lines of pushing back against an autocratic, aspiring, fascistic, authoritarian administration.
Aspiring.
Just to throw out some adjectives. And so you are involved in this fight and seeing it play out. Can you give us some reasons for hope or encouragement, like things to look to that we can say, like, yes, this is working? and we should continue to stay in this fight, because I think so often it's just so draining and demoralizing, and people look around and they feel discouraged because it doesn't feel like there is anything they can do that will simply turn this off.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it is a very real thing about how people are feeling in this moment. People, and this is part of the playbook, to make us feel overwhelmed, to make us feel hopeless and helpless and confused and scared, quite frankly. And I hear that a lot from Illinoisans all across the state. I think a couple of things. I mean, first and foremost, I keep saying that every time I walk into a room, and I'm doing a lot of different events or gatherings and meet and greets, protests, I've been out in the streets protesting, the day that I show up and no one is there, that will say something to me. But every time I walk into a space and someone is still there, sometimes they bring their children, sometimes they come alone, sometimes they bring their whole little friendship group with handmade signs or whatever they need to bring. Every time I see that, I get filled back up, because it is an example and a reminder that people are still in the fight. They are not giving up. They're going to keep going every single day. The other thing I think of is my dad, Henry, who is 92, who marched from Selma to Montgomery in 1965.
Hey, Henry.
Yeah. And he has some health challenges now, and he wrote this article back in 1965 that's on the wall in the Illinois State Capitol in my office about why he marched. And he said, "I did not like how human beings were being treated," something that I think all of us are feeling every single day right now. Yes. And somebody must have asked my dad, "Well, what did you think you would accomplish by marching?" And he said that I would stand up and be counted. And that is the moment that we are all in right now, right? That we all have to do our part to stand up and be counted. And so my dad, he didn't know what was going to happen after marching. He didn't know. He didn't know that there would be a Voting Rights Act. And he surely didn't know that right now in 2025, those rights are at stake once again at the age of 92. But what he knew is, if I stand up and I'm counted, and then the next generation and the next generation continues that work and takes that baton out of his hand, we're going to be okay. We have been passed the baton, and we must run with it. That is our responsibility. And when we do our parts, we will get through this. It's going to be hard, but we're going to get through it.
Brett Kavanaugh's not the only one who knows sports. We can have a father of daughters, and we can have a daughter of a great father.
That's exactly right.
Please give it up for Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton.
Thank you.
She is running to represent and fight for the great state of Illinois.
That's right.